Passion for Freedom is the art festival based in London, and it happens every year at a central location in London. And thank you, Jamie, for inviting me. And I remember the first time when Jamie invited me to speak at the last year conference. I accepted this invitation, although I knew it won't be an easy talk about freedom to talk about, because it was just months before when my life and also the life of other members of Passion for Freedom and freedom activists was put at stake. It was hundreds of bullets for shots, and I remember someone shouted just on the floor, and I was crawling on my knees, and I was trying to find an escape exit as other people, and eventually when I found a secure place under the dark curtain next to the stage, I was having just two thoughts. One thought was whether my good friend Agnieszka, curator of Passion for Freedom, is she safe? Is she still alive? While the bullets were still firing, I had another thought. Stay still. Don't breathe. Don't move. He cannot notice you. So it could be a scene from a movie thriller or a chapter from the crime novel. And I wish there was a film director probably in some Hollywood movie action that would come to the stage and say, cut, we have to stop, repeat again. Her shoes were sticking out from the curtain. And I remember my heart was beating at the record speed. So it was not a movie thriller, it was not a crime novel, it was none of this. It was a free speech debate organized in Copenhagen last year, in February 2015, on the anniversary of Salman Rushdie Fatwa. It was organized by Lars Vilks Committee in Copenhagen to allow different activists to debate on the topic of freedom of speech, to discuss challenges to freedom of speech, but mainly to exercise it. And Helena Reuter-Briggs, who was the main organizer, and she established Lars Vilks Committee, she did it for the sake of providing a more social life to Lars Vilks. Lars Vilks, as you may know, he is the Swedish artist and also doctor of philosophy, who became famous to the world after the cartoon crisis. Since then, he lives in 24-hour police protection. So those events allow him to actually talk to people, to have a drink, to widen his circle of friends, just to talk and to be with some other people rather than two bodyguards that secure his life and are his best friends somewhere in unknown, safe location in Sweden. So what is freedom? How easy is to lose it? And how hard is it to get it back? Those three questions we ask to all artists around the world during the annual Passion for Freedom Art Festival. And there's a key question we should have to ask ourselves every time when the freedom of speech and when freedom of expression is in danger. And I would like to show you some couple of images from brave artists who come to our festival every year, and despite threats, despite different family issues, or despite the countries they are coming from, where the politicians cannot stand up, the artists speak out. One of the special guest artists is Kubra Kadeni. This is herself in the streets of Kabul. She comes from Iran, but she moved to Afghanistan to Kabul. And she created this metal armor, and she's walking on the streets of Kabul. She managed to walk only 8 minutes, because after a walk, she was just harassed, abused, and she had to be taken by car to the safe location. She had to go and escape from the country, and now she lives in exile in France. Although I'm not sure that her life is still safe, due to the growing Muslim population in France. Her life is still in danger. And her family back in Afghanistan, even more. But she managed to exhibit it with us, and she showed a video installation just documenting her work in Kabul. She's still practicing, she's still creating, she doesn't give up. She is the freedom. Athena Farghadani, she's another Iranian artist. And when she was 20 years old, she was imprisoned into one of the horrible prisons in Iran for this cartoon. The cartoon was criticizing the government, the Iranian government, when they tried to introduce the bill limiting access to contraception and family planning services. So for this image on Facebook, when she posted it only on Facebook, she was put in jail for a few months, for a few years. Luckily, she was freed last May, and she still promises that she will create, she will never give up, and she will do the work as she did before. We also have artists coming from UK, and this is the Freedom Ambassador from last year, Emma Elliott. And she created this work titled Sacred and Profane. And it could be read in two ways. You could read these three little sculptures as holy relics. They're like from bronze, rubber, and plaster covered with gold leaf. But also you can read them as sex toys. As the artist asks the questions, whether the sacred and profane should be combined, whether sex is for pleasure, maybe that's the meaning. So why are the women were given a clitoris? And she refers back to FGM. How many cases of FGM were executed? So how many girls and women were abused by FGM in UK? More than 100,000 in UK. And these are figures from 2012. And not a single persecution since then. Another artist we also show the beauty of the female body. But this image was censored on Facebook. Apparently Facebook is more scared of women's nipples than the ISIS beheading. So many times that image couldn't be appeared or was pixelized on the nipples of this beautiful siren. That was a video installation. But this image, maybe you've seen this around in some mainstream media last year. That is quite a witty and jokey one, but it led us into a little trouble. And let me cut the story very short. That when we secured the gallery last year in central London, it was the gallery between Buckingham Palace and Trafalgar Square. It was Mall Galleries. A beautiful 3 spaces next in a prime location. And we knew that some special guests like Lars Vilks or another guest like Lars Hedegaard from Denmark, who also requires 24-hour police protection, would come and visit us. Also some Bangladeshi bloggers and people whose life is in danger. So we thought that's the prime location, that's the most secure. But a week before, 2 weeks before the exhibition, when we were just preparing and finalizing the technical details and all the relationship with the gallery was amicable, we received an email from the gallery raising the concern about this image. So you can see this like little Sylvanian family, and at the background there are little hamsters dressed as ISIS. So they are in danger, the Sylvanian family is in danger. It's a satire. But that image caused us trouble with police. They said that the image have potentially inflammatory content, and they cannot provide the security of the exhibition. We were shocked, we were surprised. I would never think that this image would cause such a trouble. It's not a cartoon even. And we exchanged very few emails, very tense emails, trying to still keep that artwork exhibited. It was the artwork created by Mckenzie. This is the pseudonym by the UK-based artist, but her father comes from Syria and he also has a Jewish origin, but they had to exile from Lebanon. You may guess why. So when we exchanged a couple of emails, we requested to have a meeting with Westminster Police and Mall Galleries together so we can clarify everything at one table, but that meeting never happened. What happened, actually, we received another email saying that this work will have to be removed if we cannot provide our own security, and for this security we have to pay 36,000 £36,000. And we are a charity. Passion for Freedom is a charity. We run on a voluntary basis. We have little donations there and there, and artists submit their work, and they also pay for the entry fee. So exactly knew that we will not be able to collect this money back, even though we said, okay, maybe we'll try to collect them. We had another meeting with the director of the gallery, because they also requested us to list all the shortlisted artists' images, who's coming to the panel discussions, who are the guests, and I felt almost like in Soviet Union when you have to describe everything what you will do on the event, and as some kind of government through the police will be an art critic or a curator of the show, allowing you to show that or another work. So we did have that meeting, and the director claimed that even though we collected £36,000 in a few days before the exhibition was open, there is still a clause in the contractual agreement that if the gallery thinks that one of the work is inappropriate, they have the right to remove it. So we had a lot of debate within the Passion for Freedom what to do with this situation, because we are fighting for the freedom of speech. But there are also other hundreds of artists who were coming, hundreds of guests. So we decided to see how the situation develops. And we decided we didn't have actually a choice whether we collect money or not. The artwork will not be shown. So we rolled out our red carpet. We invited hundreds of guests. And Jamie was there, Peter Whittle was there, a lot of brilliant people came. And in the end of the exhibition, we were distributing the little postcards in red envelope outside of the gallery, which was allowed. And again, I felt like in communist Russia when you had to deliver the message secretly underground, so people at least knew what had happened and which work they hadn't seen. And on the next day, the all media picked up the message and we sent out the press release, and it got to people. And I still don't understand why this image was censored and banned from the Mao galleries. So in order to keep our victories somehow on our side, we decided to collaborate with Channel 4, and we found a public square in Dalston Square, and we did a pop-up exhibition, one-day pop-up exhibition on Dalston Square in East London, just to prove that we can do this. And this documentary, you can watch the space, it will be screened very soon, probably just waiting for a good slot between some horrible news from Europe, but the documentary will be screened, so watch the space. And I would like to finish this presentation with a little poem from the Niemeyer, paraphrasing his poetry from the Second World War. And it says that, let me think, just not to spoil that. There were cartoonists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a cartoonist. There were artists killed. They came for the artist, but I didn't speak out because I was not an artist. Then they came for Jews, and I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one to speak for me. Thank you. This is a small video that I would like to show as a description of the whole festival, so you can get a feeling how it looks like. It's very short movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
The only way to protect freedom is to constantly be on the lookout for those who want to shut it down. And to always remind yourself of the right to exercise it and the necessity of exercising it. But freedom has only ever been defended by a small number of people. A lot of people, I would say the majority of people, at any one time are very happy with just being secure or safe. And that's not same thing as being free. I think here at Passion for Freedom, you see this amazing range of art from an amazing range of people, all committed to the same idea and all passionate about freedom. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to see, and it's a wonderful thing to see growing and getting better year by year. Passion for Freedom is a very rare thing, and I think something which deserves enormous credit, because at a time, in my view, of enormous cowardice and posing by a lot of people, Passion for Freedom actually walks the walk and shows that the only way in which we can go forward is to not limit ourselves, not stop ourselves speaking, not stop ourselves drawing and creating art and literature and all of the things that matter in life, but to keep doing it. And we have to do it ourselves. And Passion for Freedom is doing that, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
Passion for Freedom are one of my favourite, ultimately admirable organisations. I have enormous appreciation for your commitment, passion for freedom, the effective ways in which you work. You really go to the fundamentals of injustice and where people suffer, especially women suffer. And this exhibition is just an example. Pictures speak louder than words. When you look at some of these pictures around here, and every picture speaks a volume. Every picture tells a powerful story. And I'm so pleased that Standpoint, and I don't expect Standpoint, have covered your exhibition, and so pleased actually showed some of your pictures, which is really important. So I just want to be here tonight to say congratulations. It's a privilege to be here with people who I have such enormous respect. And, you know, when we sort of talk about freedom, you care passionate about freedom, I care passionate about freedom in this country and abroad. Sometimes you can feel almost overwhelmed, you don't know where to begin. The demands are so huge, the suffering is so great, the passion is so universal. But we have done a lot in my organisation. I cannot do everything, but I must not do nothing. What I love about passion for freedom is you do a lot. And we can't do everything, but together we can make a difference. And together we can make a difference for women. And so it's a privilege to be here tonight on your night, and thank you for hosting this very powerful evening tonight.
Marianne, would you like to take any questions? Maybe. Oh, does anyone have any questions? Oh, just quickly, I remember it was nice to see Douglas Murray on there, and I remember being at Peter Whittle's think tank at a speech he gave, a talk he gave, and it was not long after the terrible events Mariana described, and it was a really weird feeling. It was a weird feeling that we were some sort of resistance, or sort of tucked away in this room, and you know, really under attack, but a great feeling of solidarity. So thanks ever so much for coming along, Mariana. You know, it's always a delight to hear from you and Passion for Freedom. Mike?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what the name of that documentary is that you were talking about.
Channel 4 is still thinking about the title. It will be a combination of different artists and different people, so we will be a part, just a little part, one of the stories. The working title, I think, was something with offensiveness, but whenever it goes to Channel 4, whenever it goes to the TV, they decide in the last moment, almost like in the last day, to put it on the probably good positioning in the media, so I cannot tell you, but something with offensiveness, like, but they might change it very quickly.
Yes, sir. Do you think banning the burqa would be a good thing or a bad thing?
I agree with my previous speaker, because I think in the public space we have to read the people's faces, we have more trust and we feel more secure. If you come with balaclava, for example, to the room, you cannot really see what is behind the balaclava or behind the burqa. You can see just the eyes, so you cannot see the expression. And I think from the psychological point of view, it's a healthy thing also for children to read your emotions and read your eyes, read your gestures. But under the big sack of black cloth, you cannot really correspond with people. And I think it is very critical for the public spaces to have a ban on burqa.
Gentleman at the back.
Do you have any more exhibitions coming up?
Yes, definitely. We will have a big festival next year, so we are very welcome to come. It usually happens in autumn. We will see what kind of gallery we can get. If you have any ideas or anyone who is so brave to give us a space, that would be lovely to hear from you. Otherwise, we will be supporting some of the artists in autumn. Emma Elios, she's an ambassador, freedom ambassador, so she will host a exhibition show with her new project, I think in the beginning of August. You can also go to our website, www.passionforfreedom.co.uk, and sign up to our newsletter, and you will receive all the updates, or follow us on Facebook, and we publish all the upcoming events also there. But I'll just talk to me, I'll sign up, you also add your email, and we'll send the invites. It's you are very, very welcome to come.
Anyone else? Thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
I really would suggest getting involved in Passion for Freedom and supporting them and joining them. I'm sure she's going to stay around for a bit. So if you've got any questions, I'm sure she can answer them. Our next up speaker is Mckenzie member and recent candidate in the two-team by-election, Elizabeth Jones.
Good afternoon, young independents, YI delegates and YI guests. It's marvellous to be invited to be here today in Manchester at the YI's annual conference. I'm especially grateful to Mr. Chairman to be permitted to address you today as one of the declared candidates to become the next leader of the United Kingdom Independence Party. I'm particularly proud that we are in Manchester today, otherwise formerly known in the 1990s as Manchester, probably a bit before your time. Manchester has produced 25 Nobel Prize winners, including Ernest Rutherford, Niels Bohr, and the Russian duo who discovered graphene. I think they're Geim and Novoselov. Anyway, those two chaps have set up home in Manchester in the United Kingdom because they think that that is best for the scientific advancement of their careers. Fantastic. And what more will we do in Manchester? Before I address the particular hot potato of candidacy, let me first extend my sincerest congratulations to you in this UKIP's youth movement. You've dedicated your energy, your time, your enthusiasm to this fantastic movement, and I'm extremely grateful to you. If you all remember, back in November, Nigel Farage started his Say No to EU campaign, and the very first event was to take place in the Emmanuel Centre in Westminster. I don't suppose many of you are aware of the background panic that caused, but the night before the conference was due to begin, we realised we had absolutely no one to man the doors, to look after the cloakrooms, to look after the guests coming in and out. So the call went out in the London region to London YI, and lo and behold, on the morning the next day, we had over a dozen YI people there running the whole show. So I'm really grateful to YI and your enthusiasm and your engagement with UKIP, particularly kick-starting that fantastic campaign, which went basically from November up to May and did result, I think, significantly in us achieving the Brexit win. Also, I have to thank you tremendously for your significant help during the course of the Brexit campaign, for your indefatigable leafleting. I was hoping that there she is, my London Bodicea, Charlotte, fantastic. She leafleted till she dropped. She suffered a huge amount of abuse from Remainers on our Brixton Weekly stall. Thank you very much. With my hand on my heart, I really, really do appreciate the fantastic energy and input from YI. Thank you so much, and may long it continue. We love YI! And thank you so much again. I feel great pride in YI, as Charlotte can testify. Now, in UKIP, we love our youth movement. Well, what's happened to the young Conservatives? They seem to have vanished off the face of the earth. Do we like the young Conservatives? It seems that they've been banished from public view because of their absolutely awful behaviour to their fellow members. It seems there's a lot of bullying going on. I've never heard of any bullying within YI at all. And what's happened to Labour? It seems to me in Labour you can only get ahead if you're red. It doesn't matter how young you are, it's just how red you are. So looks like Labour's going down the extreme route, not very good at all. So the big question is, what's going to happen to UKIP's future? Well, contrary to the doom-mongers and the terrible speculation in our Remainer press, the future for UKIP is very big and very bright. Come on, you don't win a referendum with 17.4 million votes, with a 72% turnout without having a big future. You don't win a first-past-the-post general election with 4 million votes and don't have a big future. You don't win, come first, in a European election in 2014 and achieve the largest single contingent of MEPs without having a big and bright future. And that's our future, big and bright. However, we will have to organise it properly and appropriately, and you will need a good leading team to do that. So how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, we have to focus on our enemy. I think our number one enemy is Labour. But luckily for us, Labour is getting redder and redder and redder and redder. It's absolutely red in tooth and claw. We can supply the working men and women of this country and those in need of assistance across this country with honest, decent British policies, so unlike Labour. Labour's policies now are multicultural, anti-royal family, anti-military, well, anti-British, intercultural relativism. They're totally alien to the standard British life that we live here. So I don't think Labour's going to present much of a threat if it continues to go down this extreme left-wing route. So may Corbyn win. Please, Corbyn, win. We want Corbyn to win. Now, what's the responsibility of a UKIP government? Well, for a start, we need to protect our borders. We need to protect our integrity. We need to protect our people and promote our economic and social and geopolitical interests. We need to engage internationally, and we need to practice and exercise our hard-won, deeply cherished democratic rights as British citizens. Let's also, don't forget, our economic policy. There is simply no money tree for government. Deficit financing is stealing our children's future, and indeed is stealing your financial future now. How many of you here think that you'll be able to buy a house before you're 40 years old? Hands up. Well, well done. Well, that's 1, 2, 3. Three of you here out of, I don't know, about 30, 40, think that you can actually buy a house by 40. Well, good luck. Unfortunately, the majority don't think you can do that. And why is that? Well, basically, we've got a significant problem with overpopulation in the United Kingdom. We have a problem with Blair, Brown and Cameron have basically created a property market that's so obscenely unbalanced that so few of you can actually buy homes. What are we to do about that? Well, we are not going to take the brake off immigration. It looks to me that the Conservatives have very much taken the brake off immigration with regards to their current policies under May. We are not. We are still going to give that strong policy directive that we will want to monitor immigration. We do not accept the situation that's happened with May. It seems that she's fudging it and seeking to delay the Brexit vote. And here we go. Right, now other ways forward for the future of this party. We need to be more participatory, we need more people on school governor boards, we need to press more to be seen more as volunteers, engage more with the international community based in this country, so that we can develop a friendly face and a significant membership base for the future, so we can have more and more people to stand in local elections. We also need far more branches. We don't have enough branches, and we don't have enough genuine local facilities to sustain those branches. Now, how are we going to get about getting new branches? Well, it all boils down to funding. And the financial management of our party has been rather obscure and Byzantine at the best. Yes, money has come into the party, but soon, unfortunately, one source of cash, the EU through our MEPs and our EU parliamentary political groups will be drying up. It may be drying up as early as 2018. We don't know yet, but it looks like that is like the earliest cut-off point. What's going to happen then? Well, we'll have to have a programme of approaching new donors. I will go out and seek those donors. I will charm them and engage with them. They want to see results, as will you as well, so money must be appropriately and properly managed. My running mate is Councillor Lawrence Webb. You may have heard of him. He is the UKIP leader in the London Borough of Havering. He scored 25% in Hornchurch in the general election, and he did that without getting any financial support whatsoever from UKIP, either nationally or regionally. This is another example of profligate waste within our party. He had no canvassing support, he had no campaigning teams, he had no action days. However, across London, about £1 million was spent fighting no-ho constituencies, resulting in a quarter of the candidates losing their deposits, and yet for a fraction of the cost and the effort, if we'd actually focused on the most likely seats to win in London, we could have got Lawrence elected in Hornchurch and Upminster, and perhaps we could have got Peter Harris elected in Barking and Dagenham. We need to be far more intelligent about the use of funding and resources in this party. So, where do we go from here again? Well, we need to build up hugely in the north of England and in Wales. We need to concentrate in Greater Manchester, Lancashire and Yorkshire and the north east. Well, UKIP is certainly going to have its best chances of success in the general election. My number one job would be to push this forward. We want to be the vanguard in the north of England, and the north of England UKIP branches will be extremely important for the forthcoming general election. Now, how again do we go about that? What are we going to do with policy? What are we going to do with our marketing strategy? In 2015, UKIP produced a fantastic, thorough and well thought out manifesto for government. That went largely unnoticed by our media, but then what do you expect? Now, I am totally in favour of the continuity of Nigel Farage's absolutely outstanding legacy, of which the 2015 manifesto is a significant part. This party is young enough to continue to develop organically, and we certainly do not need the top-down public relations interference with a new set of colours, a new logo and a new name. It has taken us long enough to establish UKIP as a name. We certainly are not going to be changing names, we're not changing colours. We may tweak the logo a bit, bring it back up to date, it may refresh it a bit, but certainly no name change, no colour change. Let the others do that. If the Conservatives want to spend millions of pounds on putting together a green oak tree logo, fair enough. If the Lib Dems want to spend millions of pounds changing their names from SDB to Lib Dem, that's up to them. If Labour want to go from momentum to madness and mayhem, again up to them. We don't need it. We've got a strong enough brand, and I would say our brand is now clearer than any other major political party. Everyone knows what UKIP's about. Everyone understands our colours and our logo. It's quite clear. Same can't be said for the others. So, no change there. Now, UKIP will remain UKIP. We have to remember that we are still in the European Union. All right, we did win. We won the referendum, and that's fantastic news. But we are still in the European Union. So all this talk of free trade deals, all well and good, fantastic for the future, but it cannot happen until we're out. We need to put consistent pressure on Theresa May to ensure that the 17.4 million people who voted out get their voice. She has to understand that the majority of people do not support freedom of movement. The majority of people here are not supportive of her migration policy, and we certainly do not want any legal compromise of sovereignty. I want you here to all agree with me now. Do we want shot of the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg? Because I certainly do.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Do we want shot of Juncker and the European Commission on Directives? Because I certainly do. Do we want out of the Common Agricultural Policy? Yes. Do we want out of the Common Fisheries Policy? Absolutely yes. Thank you for reminding yourselves of these basic policies that we are opposed to. And until it's delivered, UKIP will remain UKIP. Now, I just want to say, in order for Lawrence and I to achieve what we want to achieve, this will involve a lot of behind-the-scenes alliance building, and it will be necessary for us to take this to the next stage. In future, all UKIP YI members need to know that when they join this party, there will be a clear political career for them. At the moment, the way the party is structured, there is no career path. People, youngsters particularly, need to have a career path. They need to know that they can join a party that will be credible, and we will perhaps enter into a coalition with the ruling government, that will be running local authorities, and that will be steering the regional and devolved assemblies across the nation. So those are my ambitions for UKIP. Anyway, I'd like to backtrack. I understand also that there have been some discussions today about the NEC. I am an NEC member, and I've been an NEC member since 2015 December. Now, I think there have been some slight misunderstandings. Please forgive me, Chairman. I understand that our Chairman today said that the NEC was seeking to abolish YI. Is that correct?
No, I made a joke about it, Elizabeth.
Right, it's a joke. Well, I just want to reassure everyone, there's never ever been any talk of the NEC abolishing YI. That simply will not happen. It's never ever been discussed. I also understand that there was some discussion with Nathan Gill describing the NEC as a gravy train. I don't know if that's correct. It certainly is not a gravy train. I've never claimed any expenses. We have people travelling in from Ireland, from Sark, who don't claim any travel expenses. There may be one or two who do. It certainly is not a gravy train. I've also heard much that apparently the NEC does not represent the membership. Well, I'm sorry, the NEC is the only election in UKIP which doesn't involve internal interference with who's going to be on the list. It doesn't involve internal interference with ranking. It is the only free-handed election in UKIP. So of course it represents the membership. You put yourself forward, you're going to have a free run, unlike the MEP and the Assembly elections. That simply didn't happen there. I accept, yes, the NEC does need change. That'll be part of my platform. I do have a whole series of changes I want to make to the NEC to make it more efficient and more democratic. I do not agree that it should be completely abolished and abandoned, because it is the independent governance body of UKIP. We monitor the finances, we monitor rule changes, and we monitor policies. So we are a check and break on certain situations that may not be necessarily in the best interest of the party. So I have nothing further to add, but the NEC isn't as half as bad as it's being portrayed. And always ask yourself, who exactly is the person complaining about the NEC, and why are they? Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Next up, we have I kind of know quite well from the past 2 weeks of the campaign who I work with, my fellow running mate and the new chairman of Young Independents, Jamie.
Thank you, Edward. Thank you, and thank you all for coming, and a big thank you for everyone that helped to make today possible. Edward, my deputy, Jake, if he's around. I don't know if he's still holding the fort outside. Bless him. All those on my interim conference committee, Jack, Fraser, Liam, who's picked this fantastically fat picture of me, and thank you to all the speakers and the leadership candidates who made it in here today. We could have a big round of applause. I also think we need a big round of applause for ourselves, because we did it. Now, if you'll humour me for a moment, as a religious man, this victory has confirmed for me a long-held belief I've had that we as a country have been given a special grace from God. Our innate desire for freedom, a rich language, a channel of water which has saved us from so much heartache and destruction. And as has been demonstrated so many times in our long history, His hand always saves us from ourselves and from others, sometimes by a matter of inches and minutes, often as the clock approaches midnight. On this occasion, He certainly hath not forgotten to be gracious. As we have seen before, this is often because He has planned for us a task, a duty to the wider world. We must not underestimate how this victory has probably been the greatest blow this country has struck for freedom since the Second World War. Far from being in isolation, we stand in solidarity with our peers, particularly the young across Europe and across the world, who are especially blighted by this project and similar globalist ideals. Indeed, I'm delighted to be joined by our friends from the Sweden Democrats, who are carrying on the struggle in their own country against this project and the elites that worship at its feet. Leaving is leading, and I have every confidence that this, Brexit, will be our finest hour. Not that you would know it from the howls against democracy from our tired, rotten pantheon and the spoiled middle-class children that hold it up like misshapen Doric columns. I hear some are so upset they are receiving counselling for their anxiety surrounding Brexit. Good. I say let's keep going till they're all on Xanax. But we must accept as a youth wing that these people are beyond our reach. We will never be able to persuade them otherwise. And it worries me that for the first time in perhaps 60 years, a huge proportion of the youth of a country has been so enthralled and hypnotised by authority and by the establishment of government. I'm afraid I wouldn't be justified in dismissing this as simple, misplaced idealism. Instead, it has as intrinsic to its core a real evil, and I will tell you why. It is a form of nationalism, and like any other form of nationalism, it is based on twisted truths, the misrepresentation of history, and most chillingly, pseudosciences. We have seen hard-working, decent, patriotic people referred to as rats, as dogs, as old white people who should die, as sewage. The language of dictatorships and regimes passed. The designation of whole groups of people as an Untermenschen who shouldn't have been allowed to vote. We as a youth wing will challenge this language. We will defend those who, although they often have little, are rich because of their identity, their sense of spirit, their love of freedom, and their belief in Britain. The people who in real terms have everything, because like us, they see their fellow countrymen as their family, and these islands as the greatest mansion they could possibly share. Ours is a language of love, theirs of hate. Ours is a message of hope, theirs of doubt. We are proud British patriots. They are ugly EU nationalists. It is perhaps most worrying that at a time when there should have been fireworks and celebration for our Independence Day, we were instead kicked immediately into submission by a barrage of doubt akin to the worst poison poured into ears by bad and controlling boyfriends. The abusive parent that eats away at our confidence until we're scared to walk out of the door. This is a war of attrition against our own people, and to withstand it, we must resolve the crisis of confidence that we face. The problem we find is that after years of indoctrination, young people in Britain simply don't know anymore what it is to be British. They quite literally don't know what they are, who they are, and the immense power they can unleash. Those that do are taught to be ashamed of it or to hide it under a bushel. Instead of pride in a nation with an extraordinary command of the written word, the Mother of Parliaments, Magna Carta, the rights we once had as subjects, many of which have since been eroded, the many inventions, the way in which we consistently, by grit, determination, hard work and sacrifice, punch well above our weight, we are taught to self-flagellate. Instead of learning to cultivate that other country, spoken of in the hymn, I vow to thee my country, that intangible place in the mind which demands love, valour, quiet resolve, while other countries' hymns speak of wine, women and song, we're taught to shun it. It's perhaps the greatest of paradoxes that in a culture which teaches you to be yourself, to love yourself, to be proud of your achievements, that we have been taught to lack confidence in identifying with the very things that matter most. We as a youth wing will be radical in this respect. While the Labour Party fight amongst themselves and the Tories launch a new youth wing, or so I hear, so they can talk more about Ayn Rand and bang on the table saying sound, sound, we will be discussing our culture, our ethos and our new identity as a free Britain. What is our new place in the world? And what is it that we do and can do that others can't? At a time when we need to hold our nerve to break free from the shackles of Brussels, as well as being robust in our approach to the world for trade, I believe we must do this, not only to be happy, but if we want a chance of survival. This, of course, is not the only battle that we need courage for. It is perhaps the greatest cliche of any pompous clergyman or politician to talk about the evil of our times. Indeed, it has been said by such people as myself behind rostrums such as this for centuries. But the great evil of our times is that of faith that has been completely decoupled from reason. I've already described one form of this, which is secular. It's the adherence to an ideological project which is clearly, by anyone's standards, anyone's logical and reasoned standards, failing, often to the detriment of young people like ourselves. The second is religious, and it is final. A new ideological battle with the West, a Cold War, the Iron Curtain of which was pulled across in 2001, or some might say as early as the Iranian Revolution of 1979. I'm sure I don't need to talk about the recent events on the continent, and we look at these with great apprehension of the troubles ahead. As Christ said, when his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. A person who does not have faith, who does not believe in himself, will not fight back. A person that does not have pride in his heritage will not defend his home and his family. A person who believes he has nothing will not lock the door. And a person who out of fear makes excuses for evil will eventually find himself the victim of it. If and when these troubles visit our door, we will need the self-belief required to meet this threat squarely. The only other option is surrender. And for those that love this country and everything that we stand for, that is not an option. This test of confidence, however, starts with us. We must learn to stop ceding the moral high ground to our opponents. We must learn to stop apologising for the views we hold and to proceed with the surety that our position is the moral, reasonable and right one. We are at a terrible disadvantage in this respect. Indeed, so sure are our opponents of their moral position that we see a whole new breed of little fascists springing up in workplaces and campuses up and down the country. I'm of course talking about the so-called social justice warrior, or the SWJ. Or SD. Yes, they don't. I'm so happy to have here today a great colleague in Thomas Collins, who spoke to us about how he's going to take on the NUS. I'm also very happy to welcome a good and brave friend, Mariana, who's quite literally been on the front line in the battle for free speech. Free speech is a fundamental right. It is also the best safeguard against intellectual flabbiness, groupthink and repeated mistakes. It is vital to our prosperity and happiness to have a rich marketplace of ideas. And it is vital to our democracy that those in positions of power can be challenged. Nowhere is this more important than in an academic environment, where debate and the marketplace of ideas should and must flourish. If it does not, we end up with another problem that will hold us back as we reach into the world. That of a nation of people taught what to think, not how to think. I'm very proud to announce that Young Independents will be the only youth wing to take the battle for free speech to our schools, colleges and universities. These people have had their own way for far too long. No more safe space, no more censorship. We will trigger the cuts and the SJWs. And to the people in YI and UKIP who want to kowtow to such people, do us all a favour. Go and join the Liberal Democrats. This era of independence is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. The spirit of independence is the very spirit of youth, a time when we, for the first time, are genuine masters of our own destiny. For this, we owe our thanks to one man. I must admit that I was quite teary to see him step down. I think we can all, as young activists, or perhaps young dissidents, learn from his example. I worked on the campaign in South Thanet, and I remember arriving at where I was staying after being introduced to the team in the office. And I sat on my bed and felt quite upset. I quite frankly hadn't realised that such poverty existed in the south of England. I sometimes worked close to Nigel on the doorsteps and in the street, and I can tell you that this was a decent man. He was genuinely moved by the plight of these people, the forgotten, the cast aside, and the frequently demonised. This was a man who chose to do what was right rather than what was easy. A man who, rather than choosing a comfortable life, chose a great life. In doing so, he brought us to where we are today. For that, thank you, Nigel. But just as we view Brexit as the opportunity to shape our newly independent country, we should look to this leadership contest as the opportunity to choose what path we take as a party now that we achieve what we first set out to achieve. I look forward to working with whoever is elected as leader in the next chapter of our party's young history. But first, a word on that contest, gentlemen and ladies. Keep it clean, please. I have already heard of the most shameful and tacky manoeuvres, often by non-entities and rent seekers, so busy protecting their interests, they care not to the damage it causes us and our movement as a whole. And we could frankly do without such people. We must remove those who put self before cause, some of whom have not been held to account for the mistakes they've made, some of whom are now completely detached from what we are here to do, some of whom organised chairmen's conferences on the same day as my conference. I'm not naming names, but if any of the candidates are here are interested, let's talk. But all joking aside, let's keep it simple. Enough of the sixth form bickering. Whoever leads this party in the next phase has an enormous and existential task on their hands. Not only will they have to take on the entire establishment to get us out, they also have to make sure that we stay out, and that whatever that out is, it's one worth living in. They must be the voice that continues to speak the truth on behalf of millions of good and decent people, however difficult that is. We did not fight and win this referendum to get by in a country led by people who are happy for us to lull into a docile, managed decline. My good friend Peter Whittle had an interesting allegory as to what UKIP's role was. He described us as the negotiator, talking Britain away from the cliff when it was just about ready to plunge itself into oblivion. We have already persuaded her. Whoever is the next leader has the task of grabbing her by the hand and leading her to safety. I'm looking forward to the year ahead in probably the most interesting time we've ever experienced in British politics. And we must never forget what a beacon of freedom and democracy Britain is to the rest of the world. The words of support Young Independence has received from young people across the globe is most touching and pays testimony to this. People are placing their hopes on us, and we have a duty not to abandon them. So, let's continue the fight for a free Britain, a Britain to be proud of. And as we have hitherto in our long history, let us lead the way to a free Europe and a free world. If we do it right, as a youth wing, as a party, and as a country, this will be our finest hour. Thank you.
We're now going to have a 20-minute break until the leadership hustings, so you can stretch your legs, have a cigarette, get a pint, and then back in half past.
Guys, return at about 4:30. We'll get the leadership hustings underway. Thanks.